Terrifying.
That's a big piece missing now.
Today we discuss the issues we found with the stern stem and learn about where we source the specialty wood materials for Argonaut's repair. My name's Nicholas, and I live aboard a 103-year-old historic wooden boat, Argonaut 2, and I'm on a mission to build community around this boat to help out with an ongoing restoration and preservation of its history. Before the haul out, I shared that one of the biggest unknowns for this project was what was the condition of the stern stem and the horn timber, which was going to dictate just how big this project was going to be. So today I'm going to provide an update on what's going on with the stern, as well as answering another big question, is how do we source all the wood material for these projects? Where does the wood come from? And so I'm going to take you along on a 22-hour road trip down to Southern Oregon, directly to the source of where some of the best wood materials in North America can be found. And I'm also going to take you to a local Port Townsend company, which has its roots right here in the boatyard and supplies the yard with wood material from all over the world. Right now, I am up the road in Port Townsend at a company called Edensaw, who supplies most of Argonaut's planking material. And I'd love to highlight a local company that found its start here in the boatyard in Port Townsend, sourcing wood from all over the world and milling it into all kinds of unique products for their customers. So let's go have a look inside.
My name is Buster Ferris, and we are at Edensaw Woods at Port Townsend, Washington.
Before we get into it, I think the origin story of Edensaw is really cool. And it started with Buster's father, Kiwi, who is from New Zealand, and he first arrived in Port Townsend after helping a friend sail across the Pacific Ocean, and the first place he landed was here in Port Townsend. He then became a student at the Northwest School of Wood and Boat Building when it just opened in the very first graduating class, and then became a shipwright right here in the yard.
He was the first student at the Wood and Boat School. He continued building boats and needed some lumber for it. The people next to him building boats asked him to get some wood for them next time, and next thing you know, he's got units of lumber under tarps in his backyard, and he's selling wood to other boat builders.
Buster and his team source woods from all around the globe, including West Africa, Central America, and now Southeast Asia, serving a customer base that seeks higher-end products such as cabinet makers, contractors, and of course, those in the marine trades.
A lot of Sipo, a lot of Sapili, we've done Wenge, Iroko. We pride ourselves on quality and customer service, so we do the higher end of things.
This piece of material right here is Purple Heart, which is a dense, rot-resistant tropical hardwood that typically comes from Latin America. For the past couple of decades, it's been the preferred material to use for centerline work and is what we were looking for several months to serve as a piece to use for the stern timber. Recently, it has been nearly impossible to find a piece of Purple Heart in the 12 by 16 inch dimensions that we need, and I asked Buster about the availability of this material and why it's been so difficult to source recently.
Purple Heart comes mainly out of South America. Tariffs have become making it impossible to get it. We would not be sourcing Purple Heart anymore. We're looking at other species now. And with Honduran mahogany, you know, my dad's generation, those guys, they went for it. So there's a lot less of it than when, you know, they were doing it. It's like fish in the sea, you know, it was never ending, but turns out it might have an end. Yeah, so right now we're in our main wholesale warehouse. This quarter of the building we dedicate towards our live edge slabs as well as our larger timbers. If you see smaller stuff like this, it's generally domestic, whereas the larger stuff is usually exotic. Tabletops to mantelpieces, board tables, as well as boat planking. We sell a lot of Richlight too, which is a local company based out of Tacoma. This quarter of my warehouse is dedicated to my lumber. Unlike, you know, a softwood lumber yard where everything is 2x4, ours is all random width. The roof is covered in solar panels. We have the largest solar array in Jefferson County. I have everything from slabs to flooring to hardware.
If you ever make it to Port Townsend, Edensaw is totally worth the visit. They have an entire warehouse dedicated to retail slabs, displays of their products, and a showroom that's even decorated with collections of old woodworking machinery.
So this is our mill house. You know, we can do pretty much whatever you want. Our resaw, if you put a board on edge, we can turn it into two. That Whitney is a single-headed planer, and it's an old workhorse. It's loud as hell, but it gets the job done. This blue rack in the back is our glue rack, so now we can do custom glue-ups for countertops. 32-inch time saver sander, 55-inch belt sander. This is our straight line because all our material becomes random width. This is our most used use the machine gang rip. It's got 3 or 5 heads in it, and you can run a board through it once and it turns into 3. This is our double-headed planer, planes both sides. This is our newest investment. It's a 1/8 molder. You can produce any profile like tongue and groove, shiplap.
Shapes wood into whatever profile you kind of want.
Edensaw has a retail storefront and slabs on display, but for our needs as a wholesale customer, Al and his team work with the warehouse team in selecting and picking through the various slabs of hardwoods to find the best material to use for planking. The warehouse team really provides an exceptional service for us to go through each slab individually, checking for defects and the quality of the grain. The material is loaded up onto a truck and then delivered locally to the boatyard. So after about 4 months of searching without any success, Al and his contacts in the yard were able to identify someone in Southern Oregon who had a clean piece of Port Orford cedar in the dimensions that we needed for Argonaut. So after months of searching, Morgan and I jumped in the car and took a road trip to Southern Oregon to go ahead and pick it up. We departed Port Townsend at 4:30 in the morning to drive from northern Washington to southern Oregon in order to get to Gold's Beach before sunset. Debate me in the comments, the best road trip snack is an Oreo dipped in peanut butter. Just hit 250,000 miles. After 9 hours and 500 miles of driving, we finally made it down to Gold's Beach, Oregon, where we met up with Matt Metcalf, owner of Metcalf Sawmill Products.
My name is Matt Metcalf, owner of Metcalf Sawmill Products, LLC, in Gold Beach, Oregon. We manufacture Port Orford cedar lumber in several different grades, from select tight knot, a construction type grade, up to A and better clear vertical grain, any length or dimension that needed, up to 32 feet. Heavy timbers, 12 by 12s, even 16s by 16s. We sell logs when appropriate. Geographically, we're right in the heart of where this material grows, so we're able to secure usually the best logs available for just the luxury of being able to get the best planking for boats and things of that nature.
And that's exactly why we drove all the way to visit Matt, because he was able to produce a clean piece of 16 by 12 heartwood, vertical grain and clear of any imperfections to use for the timber of the stern repair on Argonaut.
This is a particularly nice one. Not just the size, but to have clear material out at 16 feet. All your clear wood is coming from out here, obviously away from the pith. But this one has good VG all the way out at 16 feet, even at 12 inches wide,
It's this piece here, which is the reason that we drove down to Oregon. It's a 6-foot long, 13 by 10 section of totally clear, tight, vertical grain cedar without any imperfections that we're going to use for the stern stem repair that Rowan is working on Argonaut. Finding pieces of material that are clean in these dimensions are a really challenging thing to do these days. And through different connections in the boatyard, we were connected with Matt, who had a log that he could cut this from, specialty for us.
My dad started this business. Well, it was a retirement hobby, actually, and after a few years of sawing every type of log he could get his hands on, he eventually realized the value and the niche market of Port Orford cedar and started gearing towards sawing that exclusively. I went to work for him in 2013. It came on as a partner. My son is my head sawyer and in line to take over the business at some point. We just saw everything on thin kerf bandsaw mills, good utilization, and we're able to really target the highest end material that way, sawing basically one piece at a time.
A good source of Port Orford cedar is a hot commodity up in Port Townsend, and for that reason, Al had us pick up an additional supply of 4x10 material for his personal collection.
A lot of it stays local for construction grade, and then the higher end material, the A and better clear, either goes in the marine industry or traditional Japanese architecture, soaking tubs, things of that nature. Pretty great to be able to start with a log, the timber, turn it into usable material, and then see it actually used in the construction aspect. We get that question a lot as far as the longevity of Port Orford cedar. It is affected by a root rot disease that kills the living tree And I think that's gotten a lot of bad publicity, that people think there's an end to the supply of it, which is not the case. Well over 99% of the timber we get is green, living, standing timber that's been reproduced. It's not old growth. So I don't see an end in the future as far as that's concerned, because not a lot of people actually produce Portalford cedar, particularly not exclusively.
Yes! We made an additional stop just outside of Astoria to pick up 2 white oak logs for Pete, who is going to use them for projects that he is working on. Another sawyer named Daniel sources white oak logs from the interior of Oregon and helped us load them onto the trailer in the rain pretty late at night. The next morning, we were in for a special treat that I'd like to share with you, and that was a private tour of the Columbia River Maritime Museum, located right along the river.
I'm Bruce Jones. I'm the Executive Director of the Columbia River Maritime Museum here in Astoria, Oregon. Prior to that, I was an officer in the United States Coast Guard, helicopter pilot for 30 years, and flew the helicopter for the Columbia River Bar Pilots. Was the mayor of Astoria, Oregon for a few years. We always start off at the entrance to the Columbia River. This is a map that shows just a small fraction of the several thousand vessels that have wrecked on the Columbia River Bar.
The Columbia Bar marks the entrance to where the Columbia River collides with the Pacific Ocean, creating one of the most dangerous crossings in the world, and serves as a vital gateway for global shipping. As a result, Astoria has a large Coast Guard presence and is home to the National Motor Lifeboat School. The museum has an impressive and expanding display of U.S. Coast Guard operations, and it was interesting learning it from Bruce, who served as a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter pilot.
Flew helicopters, the H-52 Alpha, which was a single-engine amphibious helicopter, which we'll be displaying in the new building. This is a 44-foot motor lifeboat. This was really the backbone of the motor lifeboat fleet in the Coast Guard for many years. And we put the boat in place first, and we built the extension of the building around it. And this is a pretty realistic depiction of what it's like. I've been out in Coast Guard motor lifeboats on the bar for surf training, and this is very realistic.
The museum goes on to talk about pilot boats and their function on the Columbia Bar, as well as commercial fishing in the Columbia River.
Commercial fishing, a huge part of the history of Astoria and the lower Columbia River. Here we have a sailing gill netter. Once they figured out how to safely can salmon, that industry exploded. And these are just a few of the, at one time, well over 100 canneries operating along the Columbia River. This exhibit is called This Is Our Place. It was a collaboration between Columbia River Maritime Museum and the Chinook Indian Nation. Artists from numerous tribes throughout the Pacific Northwest. A piece of the Exxon Valdez. The new Carissa, you may remember, went aground in 1999, and a breeches buoy, which was a device that was used in the old days to get people from a wrecked ship to shore.
Morgan and I also had a little bit of fun playing around with some of the interactive features of the museum.
The weather forecast booth is kind of fun too. Morgan, I know you want to do it. Stand in front of the green screen. Oh, go ahead.
Welcome to the Astoria Nightly News. I am Morgan Jones. Want to bring your attention here. We have 60 to 80 mile per hour gusts. Put the dinghies away. Leave the crab pot. It's going to be a rough one. Oh, breaking news. Oh, coming in straight from the bar. We have some nasty weather. What is that? There is a ship down, and the rescue ship is en route.
You can have someone take your picture and put your camera in black and white mode.
I can't share enough of just how incredible this museum was, and Bruce even took us on a tour of a big expansion that's coming next fall, where they have a collection of other boats and even a helicopter, the same one that Bruce used to fly, will be suspended from the ceiling.
And under the blue tarp at the end, that's the motor lifeboat Triumph. That's the 52-foot steel hull lifeboat that served on the Columbia River bar. I mean, isn't it just gorgeous? It just reminds me of the inside of an old wooden sailing ship. The new building we're going to open, we're going to actually take hundreds of artifacts from our 2 warehouses and bring them out to the public for the first time. October 2026 will be open to the public. Can't wait to see you here.
Awesome.
This is me in 10 years. This is my 5-year plan. This is my 5-month plan. I don't know how they got this. I thought my family had the only copy. This is me growing up.
One last thing to mention is the museum's hands-on exhibit on lightships, which includes a tour of the lightship Columbia, which is located just outside. And from there, we packed up and drove the final 5 hours back to Port Townsend. We got 2 logs from Mr. Peter Stein.
Come get your wood.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi.
How was the trip?
It was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll it, but hold it right there for a second.
Famous last words. Watch this.
In episode 27, we talked through a few different options of simply replacing the stern stem right here, scarfing into a portion of the horn timber, or in worst case scenario, pulling the entire horn timber out, which would mean springing all the planks out all the way down to the keel, which would be a massive undertaking and something that I didn't know if I could actually achieve going into this winter's project. The horn timber sits on the keel right here and works its way all the way up the stern of the boat, and accepting each and every one of these planks into the horn timber. And so replacing it would mean springing out all these planks at the line here, doing the same on the starboard side, pulling the rudder post out, and getting into the interior, which sits a fuel tank in the aft cabin. So there's some good news and there's some bad news. So as it turns out, we did find some rot in the horn timber, but not as far as we were concerned about. And so Rowan cut in a scarf after the rudder post that's not too big of a fix.
Kind of a scary moment, huh?
Yeah.
Now, chip it out and try and keep all these planks intact as it comes out. sounds great. Sounds nice and solid.
Terrifying.
That's a big piece missing now.
And to do this fix, we're going to be bolting in 3 pieces of wood together. One is going to be this big piece of purple heart right here, which is a repair to the existing horn timber. And then Rowan's going to make another piece that's going to stand on top of the scarf, made out of the Port Orford cedar that we went down to Oregon to get. A third large piece on the interior in the lazarette is going to serve as a knee, linking all 3 together with giant bolts that will secure it after it's glued in place. The reason that this is going to be a really challenging fix and why it's going to be so interesting to watch is that Rowan has to take all the information from these planks and transform it onto the pieces of material, which Rowan's carving out with a set of chisels. These centerline pieces actually have to accept each individual plank as they curve inwards and upwards into the stern of the boat, and it's a really cool process that I'm going to further document in the next video. I have one more really exciting thing to share, but first I want to say thank you to everyone who has supported this project so far. This includes volunteers, Patreons, friends, and viewers who consistently share words of encouragement. It's a combination of contributions to this project, as well as the regular support on Patreon that makes both this work and these videos possible. And so I'm excited to share that this past week, Argonaut has been recognized as a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, which I hope will open doors and help to rebuild the momentum of this project. Last year, Argonaut welcomed aboard over 3,000 people in person, and over 1.5 million people have viewed a video since the start of 2025. So in this coming year, I hope to expand partnerships with maritime museums and attend boat festivals, and continue to grow this channel to share the story of Argonaut and get her set up for another 100 years. And so next week, we'll get back into some boat projects. See you all next time.